Greeting everyone, I'm Kevin and today I'm going to do a little Valentine's date book tag. So kind of to honor the time of year and also because I'm participating in Valentines-a-thon, I saw Bookishly Michelle create this tag and she had her video. I will link that down below along with the questions. So she created this. The only thing relating to Valentine's are the prompts before the prompts, like the title of the prompts. You will understand what I mean. And I have matched a book to each of these and I will talk a little bit about that. So the first prompt is Crush, a book that features your favorite color on the cover. And for this prompt, I chose The Ghost of Tango by Carolina de Robertis, and my favorite color is yellow. So it has a lot of yellow on it, which I'm very happy about. And this is the story of a woman who migrates from Italy to Argentina with her husband. I don't know if they were married before, but it's set in early 1900s. She and her fiance slash husband, I don't know, moves to Argentina from Italy to start their new life. And the guy dies very quickly. His name is Dante. And this woman decides that in order for her to live a secure and happy life in Argentina, she has to pretend to be a guy. So she pretends to be Dante. So she starts wearing his clothes, she cuts her hair, and she binds her chest and just a lot of things to kind of fit in. And it's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful queer story, and it's kind of, I wouldn't say coming of age, but kind of, because this woman really finds herself through pretending to be someone else. She finds who she is and she comes to terms with her sexuality, her gender, and just a lot of things. And it's set in Argentina in early 1900s, and it's just a beautiful story. And I honestly, I fully recommend this. The second prompt is Asking Out, a book that intimidated you but you ended up loving. And for this prompt I chose Aurora Rising by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. It's a thick book. It's almost 500 pages, so it's a big book. And the reason this intimidated me is, one, I've seen this book along with the Illuminate series all over the internet. Everyone's kind of like gushing about it, praising it and stuff. Two, it's a long book. And then three, it has a lot of characters. And so all of these things felt like it intimidated me because I didn't know if will I be able to keep track of everything that's going on. And I love science fiction. Science fiction is it's tied for first place with romance. If there's a romance science fiction out there, that book, I will love that book. So please recommend me some if you have some. But this book, it took me by surprise. I absolutely love this series. I can't wait for the third book to come out. And it did take a while to understand who is who and what do they want and remember their names, because I have like an issue with names. I can remember a character. I can remember what they're doing. I can remember what they look like. I can remember like these descriptions, their backstory and stuff like that. But their names? No, my brain will not function on that. And it's like, why? Why? But this is definitely a book that intimidated me, but I ended up loving. The third prompt is Perfect Outfit, a book that lived up to all your expectations. And for this book, I chose Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. And I don't really know how much I have to say, because if you haven't heard about this book, you should look it up because this is amazing. It's a book in verse. It's about these two sisters whose dad dies. So we have Yahara, who lives in New York City, the US, New York. And we have, so she is Yahara. I don't know if I said that. So Yahara and Camino. Camino lives in the Dominican Republic and they have the same father but different mothers. Their dad dies when he travels from America to visit his family in the Dominican Republic. His airplane crashes into the ocean and a lot of things unravel because of that. And these two girls, they don't know the other exists. So we have Camino, who has no one but her aunt, and she finds out that she has a sister. And we have Yahara, who lives in New York. She has a girlfriend and she has a mother. So they have very different lives, like very different lives. And they find out that their dad had this secret life. And it's just a beautiful story of sisterhood and grief and kind of figuring out who you are and who your family is. Like how huge a small secret can become. The fourth prompt is picking up your date. And this is a book you had to go the extra mile to get. And this was a no-brainer. This was so easy. This was the easiest book to find in all of these prompts, and that is The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. I listened to this via Scribd. I listened to this as an audiobook first, and I absolutely loved it, and I wanted to own a copy. But you see, I love yellow, as we established from the first prompt, so I wanted this particular version or whatever of the book as it is yellow. It wasn't available in Sweden. Like, I couldn't, if I found it somewhere on a website, it wouldn't ship to Sweden. And I had to it took months to find a place that could send it to Sweden, that could ship it to me. And I don't know if it's like they couldn't ship to Sweden or they couldn't ship to my remote location. So I had to really go out of my way to get this, and I got it, and I was so disappointed because the spine is blue. Like, I wanted this on my yellow shelf. I still love that it's yellow back and forth. The back and front are yellow. But I wanted it to be on the yellow part of my shelf because I color code my shelves, but it's the spine is blue. I hate when books do that. I don't understand why there's like a main color on the cover, on the front, and another color on the spine. I don't understand that, like who chose that, who decided that. I don't understand. But yeah, had to really go out of my way for this one. So the fifth prompt is at the movies, a genre you can always find comfort in. And for this I chose To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han, representing the romance genre, like the fluffy romance genre, because that genre, the fluffy romance, happy romance, you know, like cutesy, that is always something that is kind of like a pick-me-up for me. To All the Boys I Loved Before is a great series for that. It's not that deep into it. It's very like fluffy, it's very romancy and romance heavy, but it's also very like the cultural heritage and identity, as well as sisterhood and family and all of that plays a huge role in this, and I love reading that. And it's just a very fun book, or just like fluffy romance is just such a fun genre on its own. But I felt like To All the Boys I've Loved Before is a series that really represents what that means to me. So prompt number 6 is Grabbing Quick Dinner, a book that was a perfect palate cleanser. I don't really know what that means. I still don't know what that means. After watching Michelle's video, I still don't know what that means. But I chose Kim Ji-young, born 1982, by Chun Nam-ju. And the reason I picked this one is because, for me, I would consider this kind of like a palate cleanser, because I read a lot of heavy books, I read a lot of romance books, I read like a lot of books mostly set in the US. And so I felt like I want to read something quick, something very like gripping, and set somewhere else. Like, I was sick of the US and I don't even live there. But so I picked Kim Ji-young, born 1982, and this book is about Kim Ji-young, born 1982, as she grows up as a girl, because she's a woman, in South Korea, and what it means to be raised as a girl when a family wants boys, and the kind of like social commentary on the gender inequality and the kind of double standards that goes on in society. This was extremely relatable, even though I've never been in South Korea and I don't really know that much about South Korea. I could really relate to the whole like gender inequality, double standard, that whole thing. I could really relate to that, even though a lot of people consider Sweden to be one of the most gender equal places in the world. And honestly, I think that's sad, because if Sweden is one of the most equal countries in the world, then I feel like that's very sad for everyone else, because Sweden isn't really that equal. I mean, when it comes to gender equality, we are better today than we were when I grew up. I'm 24 years old, so a lot of it has happened in just 20 years. But if Sweden is considered one of the most gender equal countries in the world, I feel like we are still so far behind what it should be that I feel like other countries that are behind us, I don't really know. Like, I have no idea what that's like. But this, I really enjoyed this. It's a short story. It's less than 200 pages. It's like 160 pages. So this was a quick read, and it was very interesting, and I love reading this and learning about her story. And we followed her from a young age until marriage and after marriage, after like starting a family, having kids. So this was a very beautiful story. And as you know, I have now added 3 yellow books to this list. Then we're on to prompt number 7. Driving and listening to music. Recommend a book based on your favorite song. And my favorite song is, and has always been, Only You by Yasu. That song is just like, Only You is such a good song. And if you're familiar with it, you might not, you shouldn't be surprised that I pick Aristotle and Dante by Benjamin Alire. And the reason I only say Aristotle and Dante is because after Aristotle and Dante, I switched to German in my head. So like, discover the secrets of the universe is difficult for me to say. So I just switched to German. So I just called this Aristotle and Dante. And for the German one, I just say the entire thing. But so Aristotle and Dante I picked because in Only You there's kind of like, came back only yesterday, moving further away, can you hear me? All I needed was the love you gave, all I needed for another day, and all I ever knew, only you. And there are just a lot of things in that song that fits Aristotle and Dante so well in my eyes. Like the relationship between Aristotle and Dante, their friendship, being best friends and sticking up for each other. It's just such a beautiful story, and it is a romance. I think everyone knows that it's a romance, so I don't think that's a spoiler. So prompt number 8 is First Deep Talk, and this is a fictional character that you really relate to. And I had to choose Spencer Cohen from the Spencer Cohen series, and this is a trilogy about Spencer Cohen, who has his kind of like a small business where he fake dates people to get people jealous or anything like that. And he doesn't have any relationship to his family, so he doesn't have a relationship to his parents. He has no contact with them. They live in Australia, and this book is set in the US. I think it's set in Miami. I'm not sure, I don't remember, but it's set in the US, maybe it's set in California. It's set in the US, somewhere warm, let's just say that. So he doesn't have a family. He has his found family that is kind of like this tattoo shop owner that he kind of lives with. So he gets a new client who is Andrew, who wants to make his ex jealous. So he asks Spencer for help, and it's a fake dating romance, and it's just a beautiful story. It's one of my favorite fake dating romances ever, and it's one of my favorite male romances ever, and it's one of the most relatable characters ever. Like Spencer Cohen, I see myself in Spencer Cohen so much. We both have like tattoos as battle scars. We both have trust issues and issues kind of feeling like we don't deserve love and kind of things like that. And seeing a character like me who is so similar to me, and to see that character get a happy ending is so validating. It's just so beautiful. I don't know how many times I cried in this, but yeah, Spencer Cohen, absolutely relatable. Prompt number 9 is Rain. So this is a book that you expected to like or love, but it really disappointed you. And for me, sadly, this is A Fire and Stars by Audrey Colthurst. I don't know how to pronounce that last name, but Audrey. In this book, I've seen so much hype for this book. It's a female romance, and there's this girl who is a princess, and she's engaged to a prince, and the prince's sister is called Mare. That I remember her name. I don't know, like, her name is Mare, and then the princess and her fiance's sister has like a little romance, a little enemies to lovers romance thing going on. This was just a huge disappointment for me because I've just seen so much love for this book and so much like hype around it and saying that it's absolutely amazing and a lot of things, and I read it and I was kind of bored and annoyed, and it just fell flat for me, and that's okay. Books aren't for everyone, but this was such a huge disappointment because I really expected to love this, but alas I don't. Prompt number 10 is First Kiss, and this is a book you wish had a sequel. So a standalone you wish had a sequel, and it's autobiography by Christina Lauren. So kind of funny, I have 2 books on this list by Christina Lauren. I love Christina Lauren. They are some of my favorite romance authors. So my absolute favorite romance duo romance author duo, sorry. Tanner and his family moves to Utah. They move to a town in Utah, and Utah, if you didn't know, has a lot of people who are LDS, Latter-day Saints. He is very openly bisexual, and he has to kind of hide that because LDS aren't really that much, like, they don't really support queer people, let's just say that. It's like, you're not at fault if you are queer, but you should never act on it, and kind of like that kind of mentality. And he takes this kind of creative writing course, and the whole grade is made up of a novel. So he has to write a novel and send it in, and he gets kind of teamed up with the teacher assistant Sebastian, who is a brother in the church. So he has a position in the church. He's kind of active in the LDS church. Sebastian finds out that Tanner is bisexual, and it's kind of like a forbidden romance kind of thing because Sebastian is queer. He doesn't identify as queer because he doesn't think it's very complicated. I'm just gonna say that. I don't want to spoil anything. It's very complicated, but it's kind of a romance story between a perfect Mormon, a perfect like son in this LDS community, and how he falls in love with this bisexual outsider. And it's like secret love romance, and this is just such a heartbreaking, heartwarming, heart-wrenching story. I absolutely adored this. Absolutely one of my absolute favorite books. Totally wrecked me, and I would love for this to have a sequel because of the ending. Like, honestly, the ending. So the last prompt is Goodnight Kiss, and this is the last book you read that kept you up long after bedtime. And this, for me, is Recommended for You by Laura Silverman. I finished this book this morning, actually, and I absolutely adore this book. It's set in a bookstore. It's a YA romance, kind of rivals to lovers. It's adorable. We have both the main character and the love interest are both Jewish, and that plays kind of like a big role in it because it's who they are. So of course it's a big part of it. And I absolutely adore this book. And my bedtime is between 19 and 21. That's when I go to bed. So between 7 and 9 p.m. is when I go to bed. And I was reading this until it was 23, until time was 23, so 11 p.m. and I had 60 pages left, and I was like, I'm gonna finish this book, and then I checked the clock and I was like, it's 11 p.m. And I was so tired, like I was tired. I just thought that, oh, if it's just like, if it's 7, I can just, you know, finish this book and then go to bed without having like, you know, without completely ruining my sleep schedule, my body clock. What do you call it? You call it body clock as well? I don't know. But yeah, so I read this 2 hours after my bedtime, so definitely checks out for this prompt. So that was it for this little book tag. Thank you so much, Bookishly Michelle, for creating this tag. It was super fun, and I will see all of you next time. Good reading. Bye!